Every year, thousands of ordinary Kiwis train to do an extraordinary thing. Ironman, a 3.8 kilometre swim, a 180 kilometre bike ride, followed by a marathon. That's 42.2 kilometres of running. Auckland man Craig Bullock is one of those athletes, but his is a very special story. He's overcome more than most in a single-minded determination to achieve his dream. Michelle Pickles has his extraordinary story.
Hour after hour, day after day, what goes through the mind of an athlete training for an Ironman race? Craig Bullock thinks about how far he's come in the last 3 years.
They had those spare chins and spare tyre around my belly, but it's not the physical thing, it's the mental thing, it's the whole package, everything. It's just changed. I mean, I'm fitter than I have been for years, but I mean, mentally I'm just great, 100%.
That's now, but Craig struggled with severe depression for more than 5 years. At the darkest, toughest times, can you tell us what it was like?
How long have you got? I mean, it's horrible. I'd never, ever want anyone to go through it. So I'd spend days on end locked away and making excuses not to go out into the real world. And I mean, March 13, 2010, I was going to end it. That was going to be the day.
Suicide?
It was my mum's 60th as well. That was the day that I hit rock bottom, and ever since then I've been coming back. And it's hard to explain now because I sort of look at it and go, wow, that really wasn't me. I mean, I'm back to the person I was and things like that. So you're just in this dark hole, and people say, oh, there'll be a light at the end of the tunnel. There's no light. There's nothing. I couldn't see a way out of what I was in.
Now, it's not the physical buzz that makes me feel good, it's the mental buzz. It's that little feeling of self-reward or goodness that comes from moving around that helps me feel better mentally.
Craig's way out came in part thanks to a childhood hero.
The last 3 years I've got the tools that I can work it out, and I mean those JK ads was the first part to it. 99% of where I am now is because of other people have helped me. That 1% was me saying, all right, Craig, give yourself an uppercut here. You need help. You need to seek help because you're ruining your life, but you're causing heartache for the ones around you that love you.
Not one to do things by halves, Craig started running, and not just jogging casually, he decided he wanted to be an Ironman. By February last year, he'd lost 23 kilos and was ready to compete. But his dreams were shattered when weather meant the race had to be cancelled. That didn't stop him. Craig continued to train for this year's race and shed another 12 kilos. This time he roped his brother Blair into doing it with him. Together they prepared for what was to be one of the toughest and most rewarding days of their lives. But once again it wasn't to be. Just over a week before the race, at 34 years old, fit and healthy, Craig suffered a heart attack.
I was just coming down off a big few weeks and 10 days out from Ironman. I thought I'd go out for a run, and it was only a 5k one, and I started feeling my heart and thought, well, it must be just a bit of fatigue, might be getting a bit nervous about the big day. And then a guy that was about 90 ran past me. I thought, this isn't good. There's something wrong here, and got home, sat down, and just didn't feel right.
So you were actually having a heart attack?
Yeah, and I ran through it.
Which is highly unusual, according to cardiologist Rob Doughty.
The classical symptoms of a heart attack, of a severe, heavy weight feeling on the chest, perhaps feeling very sick or feeling sweaty, don't necessarily apply to everybody who has a heart attack. And so individually we may not recognise those symptoms. And it sounds as though that probably happened for Craig, and in his situation he was able to run through it, which is remarkable.
Craig spent 5 days in hospital where he had a stent inserted into an artery which was 75% blocked. Just 2 days after being discharged, Craig was in Taupō. Not to do the Ironman, but to watch his brother finish and hear the words he so desperately wanted to hear spoken about himself.
You are an Ironman!
I could so easily have given up, but today was meant to be about Craig. It was such a disappointment that he couldn't do it. So It was just hearing his voice in the back of my head going, come on, keep going, keep going.
You can't stop.
But physically, that is the hardest thing I've ever done. Mentally, it wasn't that hard because I knew I was doing it for Craig, and I just knew I had to finish.
I just gave him a hug, and I think if I wasn't there, he would have just collapsed, sort of thing. So I think it was tough for me because it was 2 years of training, but I was there to watch it, and I was just so proud that he was able to get out there and do it.
Setback after setback have not put Craig off. He's still positive and trying again for next year. And he remains indebted to John Kerwin and was humbled when he got the chance to meet him and thank him in person.
How are you? I'll give you a man hug, brother.
Oh,
how's it?
Good.
Yeah, you going?
Good, mate. Good.
Yeah.
A bit different than talking. Didn't know what to say really. Had everything going on in my head, and then just tripped over the first word. So it was the man hug, I think, helped it. But yeah, no, it was there's so much I wanted to say to him, but yeah, because a simple thank you just wouldn't be enough.
Third time lucky then, eh?
Yeah, mate. 3 years of training under my belt, so I should be able to be up there with Bevan Doherty winning the damn thing.
Just like JK, Craig is keen to tell his story in the hope it will help others. He races to raise money for mental health and now also does work for the Heart Foundation.
I congratulate Craig for telling his story. We need people like Craig to be able to come up and tell their stories, to talk about their potential risk factors and help us and people in New Zealand in general to understand the influence of these common problems in our lives.
Craig often says exercise and Ironman have saved his life, twice. Now he's looking forward to what he says will be one of the best days of his life, March 1st, 2014.
To hear my name when I crossed that line and Mike Riley shouting out those words, "You are an Ironman," it's just going to mean the world to me. It's going to be a great journey this next year, and yeah, I can't wait to do it. It's going to be great.